In November of 2021, the Associated Press reported on the story of Desta Haileslassie, a young man who had been documenting the names of victims of atrocities in the ongoing war on Tigray. Him and his friends from Tighat, an online media platform founded after the start of the war that also featured a comprehensive communications blackout, was solely dedicated to documenting and bringing to light the horrific violence that was perpetrated on civilians and civilian property. Desta, a postdoctoral researcher at Howard University, was tasked with the sole responsibility of compiling a list of victims, a list that now contains the name of 3,291 names.
When the team from the Associated Press interviewed me back, if I remember correctly, I think it was back in November, the total list of victims we had was about 3,100, to be precise, 3,116. And the current list that we have is, I think it's about 3,291, close to 3,300.
Desta fears that the list is only but a drop in comparison to the sea of crimes that were committed in Tigray during Tigray's 8 months long occupation by Ethiopian and Eritrean forces in 2020 and 2021, a fear that is confirmed by the difficulties he faces to collect information from Tigray. For months, Desta had depended on handwritten lists of victims smuggled out of Tigray, posts on social media, and reports by international outlets. But since the start of the siege on Tigray in June of 2021, Desta says there's little to nothing coming out of the region.
I think this is the reason why we have about 3,300 victims so far. And as you know, the number of civilian victims is much more than that. But before June 2021, we have very courageous people helping us from Tigray, on the ground in Tigray, from every district in Tigray, who used to send us handwritten notes about the list of victims, images about the list of victims. I also collect data from social media, posts from family members in the diaspora, or it could be in other parts of Ethiopia. And we also get reports from well-researched articles, human rights organizations or international medias.
Desta has 19 relatives on the list, including an uncle who was killed by Eritrean soldiers after being forced to do manual labor. But he says having a relative on the list does very little to aggravate the pain of having to compile the list at all.
I have about 19 family members from my mother's side. They were massacred by the barbaric Eritrean soldiers on the 2nd of December 2020 in the Goda bottles and glass factory. But to be honest, having relatives or family members in the list that I am doing, or that I have been doing for more than 21 months, it doesn't make it any different, because documenting what I have been documenting for more than 21 months, reading the stories and watching these horrifying videos, feels like everyone in the list is a close family member of mine.
According to Desta, close to 92% of the victims on the list are male. Most killings perpetrated by the invading Eritrean forces targeted boys and men aged from 12 up to 49, while more than 2/3 of the victims on the list were aged between 18 up to 49, men in the most productive age range in a society.
So the composition of the victims ranges from, for example, if we take age-wise, especially the barbaric Eritrean soldiers, they were targeting young men from the age of 10, 12 to 49. So I remember we had 2/3 of the victims were from age 18 to 49, and this is called the most productive age bracket in the society. And if we see the analysis on a gender basis, so 91.8% of them were male and 7.6% of them were female, and the rest 0.6% of them are unknown.
Recently, Desta has been focused on compiling a list of ethnic Tigray and Ethiopian National Defense Forces soldiers arbitrarily detained by the Ethiopian government and being held in internment camps across the country, and some even killed. Desta has so far compiled a list of 8,000 Tigrayans, close to half of the 17,000 the Ethiopian government has admitted to detaining.
We have started compiling the list of detainees from November 2020. Because soon after the war started, Abiy Ahmed immediately started detaining the ethnic Tigrayans who were members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. So their numbers are believed to be from 15,000 to 17,000, and they are languishing in detention in prisons in Addis Ababa, in the south part of Ethiopia, in Afar, and in Redawa. So we have been collecting data about the details about these ex-members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, for example, in which location they are being detained, the number, their military rank. So we have managed to collect details for about 8,000 to 10,000 of them.
No matter how hard or painful it gets, Desta says he's going to continue his work, hoping and believing that these victims and their loved ones will one day be served justice.
I believe I have a good reason to keep doing it for more than 21 months, because I believe it's very important to document all the war crimes committed in Tigray. No matter how high the emotional toll is, I will keep doing it until justice in any way is delivered to those victims and the people of Tigray.